Hello and welcome back to Nomadic Geographic. I'm your host, Brandon Bursaw. And I'm about to start first leg of a very long trip. Yeah, it's going to be a multi-part video because I'm not flying all the way over there for one short video. Starting off flying to Fiji for a layover. Then on to Cairns in Queensland. Then we're flying over to Darwin, and from Darwin flying to Broome, and doing a road trip all the way across Western Australia. And then I fly to Sydney by myself. So I have a few days in Sydney before heading home. It's gonna be a long, almost month-long trip. Lifelong dreams coming to reality, so finally get to visit Australia. Hope you enjoy. I am in Fiji. Tiny little airport, but hey, at least I can say I was in Fiji. I think I'm gonna go get some pizza, the traditional food of the islands. Well, I'm in Australia. I'm here in Babinda at the Babinda Boulders, looking for wildlife. We already found some saw-shelled snapping turtles and some Carlia skinks. So, good start. Hopefully we'll get some cool snakes and cool barrinids and stuff coming up in the next few days. But I'm exhausted, but I'm excited to be here, even if it doesn't show on my face. Oh man. Lifelong dream coming to fruition here. Of course, I didn't come all the way to Australia by myself. My good friend and Nomadic Geographic field producer, herpetologist Richard Reams, was along for the trip. He's well known for his expertise in Australian herpetofauna, having been here nearly a dozen times, so he seemed like the natural option to bring along on the trip. While reptiles and amphibians are my main interest, I was very excited to get an early introduction to the very impressive arachnid life in Australia. I was very happy to find my very first enormous huntsman out here in nature instead of, in my hotel room. We followed the trail down to Devil's Pool, a segment of Babinda Creek famous for the legend of a young woman from the Yindinji tribe named Ulana, who ran away with her forbidden lover. When he was captured, Ulana threw herself into Devil's Pool. Now she gets her revenge by pulling young men into the pool and drowning them. In reality, the slippery rocks and strong current are a deadly combination, easily pinning even the strongest swimmers beneath the water. An unexpected find along the trail was this river eel from the genus Anguilla. These eels are catadromous, meaning they spend most of their lives in fresh water, but migrate to the ocean to spawn. As the sun began to set on my first day in Australia, I caught a glimpse of my first Australian water dragon. They may be a common species, but nothing beats seeing an iconic Australian species in its natural habitat. As the foxes took flight, we switched gears into night mode, looking for Queensland's nightlife. Cane toads are impressive amphibians, but their presence in Australia is a nightmare for native wildlife. Native from Mexico down to Brazil and Bolivia, this voracious predator was introduced by the Australian government in 1935 to control pests. Due to their powerful bufotoxin, the introduction of this invasive species has resulted in population declines of more than 80% for some species of large carnivores like monitor lizards. On our way back to the car, we spotted this pale-lipped shade skink, Saproscincus basiliscus, curling up on a leaf for the night. Even though this species is active during the day, they seem to be easiest to find at night because of this habit of sleeping on leaves. It's early in the morning, my second day in Australia. Got up to listen to the birds, saw some fruit bats flying around. I think today we're gonna go do a little bit more exploring up here around North Queensland. Go look for some more reptiles. Still haven't found my first Australian snake, so it's anybody's guess what that will end up being, but I'm excited to find out. Maybe I'll see a crocodile today. The possibilities are endless. On our way into the Atherton Tablelands, we stopped by Lake Barrine so Richard could show me the incredibly impressive bull cowrie pines, a species endemic to far north Queensland and almost exclusively found in the Atherton Tablelands. Lake Barrine, a volcanic crater lake, is also quite beautiful, even though it has been plagued by the invasive spotted tilapia. Native to West and Central Africa, these large cichlids are very aggressive and territorial, making them detrimental to native fish populations. After a few minutes of skink appreciation, we were back on the road and headed up to Millstream Falls. The forest around the falls was full of lizards, so we spent a good amount of time photographing them before we continued on our way. Our next stop was further inland at Undara Volcanic National Park. We stayed at the nearby caravan park and were immediately greeted by this red-tailed black cockatoo foraging in the parking area. Upon closer inspection, the rest of the flock was hanging out just overhead. I also got my first look at a wild rainbow lorikeet here, which was particularly fun for me because I've worked with this species extensively in captivity. While I'm checking off all of the essential Aussie animals, I saw my first of many mini kangaroos and wallabies at Undara. Another quintessential Australian animal is the kookaburra. No matter how many times I saw them on the trip, I know I had a huge grin on my face from getting to see these guys in the wild. This whiptail wallaby was grazing right next to our campsite. One thing that's hard to miss just about everywhere I went in Australia is the abundance of wildlife. It's hard to look in any direction and not see something amazing. We went into the small town of Mount Surprise for dinner, and as we were about to kick off an evening of road cruising, we saw this flock of galah cockatoos, another common yet gorgeous cockatoo species. We barely even hit the gas pedal before spotting this two-line dragon darting across the road. As cool as these little dragons are, the next find was my first Australian snake, a beautiful little spotted python. When we were just about back to the caravan park, we found this adorable little wallaby called a Rufous Betong, foraging on the side of the road. I was surprised by how unafraid of me it was while I was filming. Before we were ready to call it a night, we set out to find some geckos on a nearby trail. Another common species, but still very cool to see as a foreigner, the dubious Datella, Gahyra dubia, was the gecko of the night. The next morning, I awoke to a cacophony of birds. Honestly, hearing all these bird calls that were completely alien to me was probably the first time it really hit me that I was on the other side of the world. Once we were up and around, we made our way back to the area around Lake Eacham and Lake Barrine to a nice little wildlife lodge that Richard had stayed at in the past. While we were waiting to be able to check into the lodge, we decided to go for a hike in the surrounding rainforest just to see what kind of wildlife was out and about.
That species can be very shy, but a couple times I've seen them in the distance on a log like these. What a paper towel doing there with poop on it?
That's a good question.
Aside from some uncooperative little skinks, a gross paper towel, and a couple of brush turkeys, the hike was pretty unsuccessful. We checked into the lodge and took a nap through the heat of the day. While I was still asleep, Richard went out to the car to get something, but quickly ran back inside and said, "Get your ass outside now." What was out there was something I did not expect to have the opportunity to see on my visit. Hiding behind a nearby tree, I watched as this amazing cassowary had a standoff with a dog through a window. It's hard to explain the feeling of being this close to a wild cassowary. I know what they're capable of if you corner them. In a very real sense, this is the closest I will ever get to seeing a dinosaur with my own eyes. Yeah, all birds are dinosaurs. You know what I mean. Chill out, bowerbird. We watched this cassowary for a good half hour or so, and the staff at the lodge assured me that I was safe and encouraged me to hold my ground when it approached me. I figured if nothing else, I'd have a good lawsuit if things didn't go my way. Once the majestic bird got bored with us, we rested up again in preparation for some more nocturnal wildlife viewing. Just after dusk, staff at the lodge spread honey on the trees at a wildlife viewing platform. I'm not sure about the ethics of this practice, but it does equate to me getting some decent footage of nocturnal mammals. We were pretty tired by this point, so we just made one more quick walk around the lodge before calling it a night and getting rested for the next day, when we would be heading north, up the Cape York Peninsula to Cooktown. Hi everyone, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I have so much more to share from my epic trip to Australia, so please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to follow along with everything I'm doing, you can visit viperaeco.com. There's links for all of my social media. All the videos are categorized and easy to find. I also now have memberships on my YouTube channel, so if you would like to join and support the channel, I would really appreciate it. It makes it easier for me to live, and it maybe will make it eventually possible for me to do more trips like this one to Australia. So, thank you again. See you next time.